Where's your scarf? Where's your do-rag? Where's your thing?
I didn't rock it today.
Summer!
Hello.
What you mean?
What do you mean?
You got
Was I supposed to wear it?
Yeah!
Damn it. I didn't get that memo. Let me see. Where is it? Let's go real quick.
You had one on yesterday, so it's easy. You ain't got no excuse.
This is so odd. This is so odd. It's like you're having a conversation with a close friend, and like people just keep on popping in.
You know? Like, what's up? What's up? What's up?
I know.
Yeah, no, Summer, it's rap time. Summer tried to cheat the game.
I'll try to find it. Let's see.
Summer tried to cheat the game. You know what? You can rock anything, so it don't even matter.
I'm gonna start this. How's your day going? Well,
It's going well. You know, I did my workout today. I ran a 5K.
Mm-hmm.
Legs were burning. I feel dead. But
voluntarily.
Say what?
You ran voluntarily.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Voluntarily, yeah.
You weren't
I have a
being
trainer. I have a trainer, and he has like a program that I come on.
I just ran downstairs to get a chair, and a bitch was out of breath. Out of breath.
Stop.
And I'm allergic to caffeine, and I just chugged this. Bad idea. It's shaking.
Wait, what is that allergy like? Like, what happens when you like?
I usually, so the typical symptoms are that I break out in a rash, which is super fun, but it keeps me awake. It's painful, but it's like, I'm up, I'm alert. And I get like super anxious, which I already have anxiety, which we'll get into, but I'm awake. So
Summer, no.
I know. Another one of my self-sabotaging habits.
Is there another, is there a substitute for what's a good substitute for caffeine?
I you know what? I don't know. I think I react better to tea than I do, like coffee or like one of these that are like meant to fuck you up.
I say cocaine, or Adderall.
Well, there. I've never done any drug.
No, never that.
No. Hey.
So how's it been quarantining? How have you been?
It's honestly been not as bad as I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be absolute shit, and that I was just going to be super depressed and hate my life. Mm-hmm. But surprisingly, I'm enjoying it a lot, and I'm getting the alone time that I usually try to deprive myself of.
Yeah.
It's been pretty growing. I feel like I'm growing as a person and becoming comfortable with myself, so that's been good. Been writing a lot, which is also good because I just have not written, and that's what I claim to be as a writer. So I felt like a fraud, and now I
know you said you were having writer's block. Like, was that cleared up?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely have been able to write more. I haven't been writing poetry because I haven't been, love you too, because I haven't been that sad lately, which is cool. But like, because my poems are usually really fucking sad. Okay. But I've been working on my script and my novel, so that's been good.
Wait, you're writing a script?
I am. I'm writing a pilot TV show script.
Really?
Yeah, it's about 5 people our age with trauma and mental illness and how they cope with it. So.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah,
yeah, I actually like it. Most things I write, I hate.
So, I mean, this is, like I said, this is a long letter. So I feel like maybe we should just jump into it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, I guess real quick, before we do that, how's your mental health been? I know you said overall you've been good, but your mental health has been pretty stable as well?
Yeah, so I have really bad depression, and most recently I've kind of developed anxiety, which has really been weird. But as for quarantine state of mind, my depression has kind of subsided, which is shocking. I just totally thought it was going to be the opposite.
Yeah.
which is nice. But I think it's just because I'm not in a lot of the like toxic situations that I was in when I was back at school.
Yeah.
And I'm surrounded by people that, you know, I love and trust and whatnot. So that's a big part of it. But anxiety, I would say, is worse because I'm indoors and I have so many things to do and I'm about to graduate and like career and all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
just scary. And my career choice, like being a writer, was already like stressful. And now that I don't have like the resources at school, I'm like, cool.
Wait, so writing was your major? Was it like creative writing or what?
Yeah, so I'm majoring in creative writing and then I'm minoring in law and social justice.
I'm glad to hear that your depression and all that stuff is like subsided
Yeah.
since being at home and being in quarantine, because I feel like things could go either way in this state right now. Like you could be like really, you know, in it and in the dumps, or you could be like in a really solid place. So it's good to hear that that's where you are and that's where you've been.
Yeah. What about you?
I've been good. I think that it's actually been, just like you said, really calming. I'm always on the go. I have 2 jobs. And then on top of the jobs, I have my acting that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot, you know, consistently on the go. And so to just stop and be and chill has been the most rewarding thing. Like it's been so comfortable. I'm like almost afraid to go back out into the real world. How do I function? I'm like, how do I do this? And then to now take on energies and have to like process that and not want to be like, yo, calm the fuck down. We've been in quarantine for 2 months. There's no reason for you to be such an asshole right now. Because I'm a server. So I'm a server and I work at a tennis center. Both are places where people feel like they can talk to you any kind of way.
Yes.
So, and especially I work at True Food, and I just feel like the clientele that we have, they're just the worst sometimes. Not all, but some of them are just the worst. So it's like prepare myself to go back into that when I've been so like at peace is going to be different. But you know, I've been grateful for this time. I really have. It's been good. You know. All right, so we'll get in the letter now.
Trigger warning to everybody who's watching.
As a matter of fact, thank you. Should I put this? I heard we can pin stuff. All right, so let me get started. Okay. I'll put that down. All right, dear Sam. Well, in the beginning of December, I broke up with my girlfriend of 3, almost 4 years. We had been having issues trying to communicate among emotional issues that she was having, making it harder and harder for me to figure out ways to bring happiness to her life. She was depressed, and for a while, I was trying to figure out ways to help her with this. It obviously got to a point where our arguments ended up being spiteful. With all the love you can have for someone, there comes a point where it's not enough. I chose to end our relationship since I knew it was the only way we would stop treating each other so cruelly and moving past the current situation we were in and maybe grow from it. I told her that after a month we would talk and see how things were after that. I asked for my space and give me about a month of radio silence. I wasn't out trying to get with other girls or talk to anyone else. Mentally, I was beaten to a pulp and just wanted peace from it all. Every day she messaged me, pleading and begging, and I reassured her I just needed space and she needed it too. I only wanted us to grow as individuals and figure out our own issues. I was never hurtful in my words or leading her on. So 2 weeks had passed of nonstop messages and calls from her. I never once answered a phone call, but occasionally I would respond, just letting her know everything I had previously said. Asking for some space, and she never even gave me 1 day of no contact. Another week passes, and she sent me a message saying she had tried to take her life. Instantly, I called her family, and I told them what she had said to me. I took screenshots of the messages and sent them to all of her family members that I knew and told them that I was extremely worried and that they needed to take care of her. Jay said that she was just joking around and used it as a way to get my attention. I told her that by doing that, she would have so much to lose, and explained my love for her, and that if she got help and gave us a break for a while to find her independence, that, sorry, lost my place, that we could see how things would go. 2 weeks go by and it's January 6th. I had a rough day at work and stressed out about where I'm going to be living and having to find a vehicle. Many things going on, trying to figure out my own life. Still, every day, I have been getting messages from Jay, and finally I told her that if she kept messaging me, I wouldn't want to be with her. She couldn't give me the respect I begged for to leave me alone for one moment. The next morning, I got a call from her cousin, but I ignored it because some of her family had been trying to call me and tell me to work things out or whatever, so I ignored it. I go through work with no messages from Jay, and I'm thinking, wow, she's giving me a day of silence. But for some reason, I started to worry with a strange feeling in my stomach. It's a mixture of nerves and anxiety. Then I got a message from her uncle saying, can you come pick up Lily? There's no one to watch her. So I called Jay and leave her a voicemail asking about our dog and telling her to come back so that we can work something out. Then her cousin messaged me again, telling me to call him when I get off. I still have this nasty feeling in my stomach. When I get off, I go to the gas station and call her cousin. Then he told me that Jay had taken her life. I was the last person she had contact with, and I had told her to leave me alone and respect me. I know this isn't something that is my fault, but I constantly think about it, man. Fridays are the worst days. I have gotten much better with the pain, and I hurt over the situation, but I still have 1 or 2 days a month that are bad. That being said, it's always quietly in the back of my mind. Her family didn't let me go to the funeral or viewing, and that also hurt beyond imaginable. I also had to call each of her friends and tell them what had happened and direct them to go to the funeral. Each time I had to break my own heart and tell them the news. I'm comfortable telling you about this because you have known me throughout many stages of my life and have always been a friend I can count on. Today I battle myself mentally trying to figure out how to transition into a future relationship and how to approach the same conversation with that person. I'm, I'm still the same guy who cares about my friends' well-being more than my own, and I'll always try to be there for them and my family. Side note, I wouldn't be offended if you asked how she took her life, but I'm being completely honest when I say I couldn't bring myself to know or to ask. It's something that might fuck me up just thinking about it, so I just avoid it. I hope I did well.
Heavy.
That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, definitely.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I think it's just good to open up just the conversation to both sides of this, because it's not, I mean, we can't really give advice on it per se. I mean,
Right.
whoever wrote it, like, is not really asking for advice. I think that it's just a moment to reflect and talk about things that, you know, these things do happen, and these things are common and need to be talked about. So, yeah, so I think that there's two sides to it. There's the side of dating somebody who does suffer from a mental illness, and then being on the end that you have a mental illness, and how do you pursue a relationship when you are struggling with things in your own brain. So I think there's two sides to it.
Let's go with the side of being the person with the mental illness going into a relationship. Is that something that you preface, like, on the first date, the second date? Like, at what point do you feel like you bring up that conversation about mental health?
Definitely. I had a weird experience with kind of realizing that my mental health issues were so bad. Like, I didn't really know that I even had, like, a lot of mental illness problems. That sounds really bad, but, like, I didn't know how bad my depression was, and, you know, my past traumas and how I coped with that. Because I think the majority of my trauma came from unresolved problems with my biological dad, and then also shit from high school and that I won't get into, and then never really having that moment to breathe after high school to like process those things, go to therapy, and like deal with it myself. And I just had to jump into college, and it was a totally new world and distractions, whatever. So I wasn't really cognizant of the fact that I had that problems.
Yeah.
So I think when I was in a relationship in the beginning of college, those problems came out in the relationship, and that's when I kind of realized, like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I gotta fix some shit.
Yeah.
So I think that not everybody knows. I think that that's one point to make, is that you may not think that your mental illness will come out or affect or have some sort of role to play in your relationship,
Yeah.
but chances are it most definitely will.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that? Like, you can't. I mean, you can't be like, oh, I can never have a relationship because I have depression. There's a way to
Yeah.
go about it. I'm not gonna say I've nailed that down because I haven't. It's definitely like a learning process. It's definitely a case to case basis as well. But I think that it should definitely be brought up early on, because you have to respect the other person's boundaries as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they might not be in a place where they feel that they could be the support, the friend, the partner, the ally that you need in whatever you're going through. They might not be comfortable with that or have, the abilities to do that, the emotional capacity to do that, the mental space to do that. And I think that it's important to know before you go into the relationship, because if not, not like you're gaslighting them, but that's just gonna it's gonna create problems, and then
Yeah.
you become to resent each other because he's not the support that you needed.
Yeah.
And then you blame them for it.
Yeah.
Which is bad. Been there though. And or they could learn to resent you and make you feel shittier about something that you don't have really control over completely.
Yeah.
So I think it's super important to bring that up pretty early. And you don't have to be like, oh hey, I'm really fucked up. You can just be like, hey, I have these problems and I'm gonna try to keep them like compartmentalized so that you're not like, you want to respect your other person's like boundaries. This is
Of course.
You don't want your partner to become your therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that before, where I am like, okay, I'm gonna vent. Tell me something to make me feel better, and that's not their responsibility to like make you happy.
No,
like,
not at all.
They shouldn't be taking away from your happiness, but they shouldn't be the sole source of your happiness. And I think that's sometimes an easy trap to fall into, for sure.
Yeah, which is what this person said in the letter, was definitely like, I became the source of her happiness. Like, I was doing everything I could to make her happy. And I definitely can say that I understand maybe more so Jay's perspective of all of this, in a sense of, I didn't know that I had the mental health issues that I did until I was in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And until I was like tested in having to be accountable for my actions. Because when you're single, you can kind of just be reckless and be who you are, and you can treat people the way that you want, as far as like in the dating pool. You're not really, you don't have to be accountable for your actions, and you can leave people alone, you can ghost them, you can stop talking to somebody if you feel like it. And in a relationship, you can't do that. You can't just like be like, I'm in a moment right now, so like I'm just gonna leave. Like, you can't check out like that. And it definitely became a thing where I was like putting all my stuff on him. And it got to a point where I even started hearing voices and had to go to therapy for it. And I was unofficially diagnosed as like having bipolar disorder and things. And all of that was like stemming from what this relationship was bringing up, because then I had to address things that that happened when I was younger, and sit down and have conversations with like my mom, like the person who is like my rock, and having to hold her accountable for some of her actions, and my dad and myself and what I've put myself through. So all of that came up, and I think it definitely ruined my relationship, because I was very much dealing with this stuff while also trying to love somebody at the same time, and it was draining for them.
That's huge, especially if you don't like fully love yourself too. Like, you know, common saying.
Yes.
You know, the tweet.
Yeah.
You can't love anybody unless you love yourself first. Like, it's like so cliche and like annoying to see on your timeline all the time, but it's real. That's why it shows
but it's
up.
true. Yeah.
No.
It's true.
But definitely have been there too, where I have just very like I'm gonna be straight up. I'm just like a very dependent person. Once I invest in somebody, that's like I'm very like I love hard. So like when I'm invested in a friendship, even a relationship, whatnot, I'm gonna give it my all, and I expect that in return. And I really rarely get it. But when you are in a place where you have that attachment style, and you have, per se, like in my case, like abandonment issues, like all of these type of like self-esteem, self-worth kind of issues on top of mental illness, and then on top of like trauma, like situational things, it's so easy to find somebody and you like them, you dig them, and you guys start dating and whatever, and that person, when you grow to love that person, becomes your rock, whether they're a good rock or not. Like, that's who you're gonna cling to. And you're gonna expect them to be there in ways that they might not be comfortable with, or don't have the skill set to, or just you just might not even just be like, you know, compatible. But like, I think that you have to, you know, you hear that all the time, like, oh, be my rock, and it's like, yes, you do need that, you know, person that you can cling to, but you have to be your own rock at the end of the day, because there's only one person who understands what's going on in your head, and it can really fuck you up if you're a person that you're confiding in, you know, misreads how you feel or why you feel the way that you do, and makes you feel crazy, and that makes it worse. It just is a sticky ass situation.
It is. I remember I snapped on my ex one time because I was like, I'm telling you all this shit that I'm going through, and like I bought books on shit, like I was like, look this up, look that up, and I was trying to force him to do the same, and like, look this stuff up so you can understand how to deal with me. And like, I was doing the work too, but I was also putting it on him. And I won't say that that was necessarily a bad thing. Like, your ex or your significant other should, like, maybe, you know, if they know you're dealing with something, do a little extra work to figure out how to be there for someone. But it wasn't fair for me to dump all of that onto him. Like, to be like, you need to do this, and like so like you say, that rock, like, you're supposed to be that rock for somebody, but it can't be in order to keep you up, like, all the time, like literally every day, like, I am the rock to keep you going, because then what is the relationship? Like, this is just a long ass,
like sleeping with your therapist. Absolutely. We can't do that. We don't do that. I mean, you can if you want. It's up to you.
Right.
Don't know this.
No, that's smart.
Imagine. Come.
So, oh my God. So, how do you feel? Because I know you love Will Smith. So, so I'm sure you've seen his, you know, I know you've seen his, like, Instagram post, and, you know, I'm sure Red Table Talks, and something he talked about was like growing. Him and Jada had to separate so that they could grow individually, and then come back and choose to live their lives together, their individual lives together. I know that this person was talking about, like, he wanted that. He wanted for them to split up for a moment just so they could grow individually. Do you think that works? Do you think, because obviously the separation is what put the mental, like, even more of the mental pressure on Jay to, like, be like, okay, we're taking this break, but he's gone, and like, what's he doing? I'm sure her head was rattling, like mine would probably be doing as well. Like, do you think that's a good idea to take the break, or like, is that something you work through while you're together?
This is very tricky as well, I've been in so many different types of
Uh-huh.
variations of this. Even in like a single relationship. I think I don't know why I'm pointing this marker.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Do what you do. Here, I got a comb right here. I'll do
but
that.
firstly, I think that hold on, I just lost my train of thought. What was the question? Oh, the breaks. Okay, yeah. I've never had
Individual.
success with
Yeah.
it because with one way or the other, we always just end up getting back together within like a couple days because you're just like, oh no, I miss you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like totally
Yeah.
derails the point. Um, but I think that it
Yeah.
can work, and I think it's a very valid reason to take a break. I think that it's healthy, and I think that if you do become too dependent on people, like a relationship should be two complete people coming together to complement each other, not to
Mm-hmm.
complete each other. And I think that sometimes you might have to find that on your own. Would I say that? I mean, I'm sure it works for some people where they can actually take a break and then come back together and be better people. I don't know how long that
Yeah.
takes though. I don't know. Like I don't know what the time
Yeah.
frame that would make sense because everybody's growth is different.
Yeah.
And there's the chance that you grow out of the person that you were in a relationship with in the first place. And I think it depends
Mm-hmm.
also on what type of like attachment style you have. Like if you are like the anxious attached, like you are going to freak out more during the break that like, oh, they don't know me, blah, blah, and that can make your mental health issues worse. Totally is not the point of the
Yeah.
break, which I think could have happened in this situation. I don't want to assume, but you definitely feel like you're losing something, and that can be really dangerous
Yeah.
for people who have like pre-existing conditions and trauma. So I think it obviously can work. I'm sure it has, but I don't have any personal experience of me taking like a break. I've thrived from like
Yeah.
breakups, I guess, like where you grow outside of the relationship. You have to get out of it to do that growth. But I think
Mm-hmm.
there is some sort of sometimes in some relationships there is like a false hope that can be associated with it, like that you can heal from the person who hurt you. Like the person who hurt you can heal you, and I don't think that ever
Yeah.
works. Like, but it
But it
feels
feels
so
good.
good. You're
It
like,
feels
oh yeah,
so
baby,
good. It
break
feels
my
so
heart
good.
and tear me down, but build me the fuck back up.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. It is. It's so bad, but it's so real
And
at
it's
the same time.
also, here's the thing, like if you have a mental illness, I think it also depends on which type of trauma that you have that is going to manifest in a
Mm.
relationship differently. I can only speak for mine. um so for mine,
Yeah.
with like daddy issues and sexual assault trauma and all this stuff, I am like, I feel like a burden a lot of times. And I've had that in friendships where I've
Yes.
like lost friends because whatever, I won't get into that, but like um or just like the feeling of like not wanting to lose somebody because you are the way that you are, is super huge.
Yeah.
So I think that I oftentimes, if somebody like likes me or gives me attention, more so like in high school and then like in relationships now, like if I like am with somebody, dating somebody, I feel lucky. Like I'm the lucky one who's like, wow, you're interested in me
Yeah.
when I'm this fucked up in the head. Like that's crazy. That's crazy, and I
Yeah.
don't want to lose that. So I'm gonna put up with whatever, so that you don't leave, and that makes things worse for you. But at the same time,
Yeah.
you feel good because you're not alone. So I think that
Yeah.
that's super dangerous as well. I've grown out of that a little bit over this quarantine. I think I've realized that I could be okay alone. I will be okay alone.
Yeah.
And also, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, just the whole lucky thing and like feeling like a burden and how that can make a relationship last way longer than it should.
You know, something that you mentioned about like the idea that like I'm lucky that this person wants me or like is
Mm-hmm.
dealing with my stuff. I definitely felt that not only from a mental aspect, but like a racial aspect as well. Because I was in an interracial relationship and it was hard because growing up, you know, I know everybody's like, you know, growing up, how long ago was that? But like when I was in high school from 2007 to
Yeah.
2011, you know, so like I'm almost on my
Woo!
10-year anniversary of high
Oh,
school. I know I'm old, but
you
she
do.
looks great,
Like, don't
you
cry.
know. So,
Yeah.
you know, so but like when I was growing up, like Black is Beautiful, like, you know, all of that, like brown skin girl, or like all of those things kind of situation, that wasn't a movement that was
Mm.
going on for us. So there were times where I would walk outside with like a towel over my head just to block out the sun so that I wouldn't get any darker, you know, and like things like that, that I did not want to be Black in a sense. Obviously, as I got older, I went to college, I went to an HBCU. I learned my worth as a Black person, and like I started to love myself. But there was always still like, I think, I don't even know if that'll ever go away, that little bit of me that feels like damn, I'm still not enough, in a sense, like I'm still not enough because I'm Black. There's that little bit. And so being in an interracial relationship, I felt like I'm not as good as him. Like I'm so lucky that this person could want to be with me. Like this white man, you know, could love me. Like, how is that possible? And so I did so many self-sabotaging things just to be like, let me be prepared. Like, let me make sure that I'll come out good. Like, I was always planning for him to leave me. I never felt like I looked good enough. I never felt like I acted good enough. I never felt like, you know, I brought enough to the table. And so I tried to overcompensate in so many negative ways. Um, and so it was, yeah, it was that layer of the whole mental health, but also like a racial divide in that. I was about to have to give them a show. I was like, what do I do?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've always been able to hear you, so I don't know about them.
Can y'all hear me?
It's so hot. It's hot. Is there a heat wave going on out here or what? Okay, yes.
Global warming.
Yeah. Okay. They said
Able to
yes.
be loud. Ooh.
All right, they said yes. So we
Okay.
were at
Yes.
interracial
Personal level
dating.
interracial. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can feel the tension on a personal level, in the sense that it kind of is. I think the main thing. Hold on, let me grab my notes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the main issue for me is having to constantly explain yourself and your experience to the person who doesn't have your experience. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it as it is, the white man. Okay, I
Yeah.
don't
I mean,
get
that is
offended.
what
I
that
agree,
is what they
anybody.
are. Yes.
So having to constantly explain how you experience things differently, or how people like you experience things,
Yeah.
I find a lot in some relationships that I've had, friends and romantically, that sometimes when I talk about it, it kind of gets like devalidated because I am light. So they're like, okay, what do you even know? Like blah blah blah. Like why do you care? Type of
Is
thing.
this on both sides of this of it, like Black people and white people, or like is there a
Oh
specific?
yeah, I get that. I get that
Okay.
both sides, but I'm saying like in the terms of dating white men,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes I'll get that where it's like, oh, shut up, like you just like you're caring too much about an issue that doesn't affect you, which is so annoying because
It's very, yeah.
that's the whole point, first of all, and that's why we need people to care about experiences that they don't have. Like
Yeah.
I don't get, racially targeted every day of my life, not at all, nowhere near. But
Right.
I'm still gonna talk about the people who do,
Yeah.
because like, that's the whole point. So it doesn't happen anymore, dumbass. So, so I think that's a lot, to constantly have to like defend yourself,
Yeah.
defend why you say the things that you do, why certain things are a problem, why certain things aren't okay, why certain things make you uncomfortable. That's really fucking annoying, and it gets really old really fast.
Yeah.
Also, to have to like teach people about things that are so like second nature to you
Yeah.
is such a weird dynamic to be like, how do you not understand that the criminal justice system is systemically racist? How does that not
Right. That's just
make
a fact.
just sense to you?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just a frustration of mine. I'm sure some people might be more patient than I am. I know that because I am pretty impatient, but I just don't. Sometimes it just like boggles me, and it can make me like not resent, but kind of not like the person.
Yeah, of course.
Like you just get annoyed, and you're like, I just don't get it, which is something I need to work on to be more open, because not everybody, you know, has been exposed to the things that I have. But then again, there's the internet, so you know, I feel bad if I don't. Another issue is like always having like the guilt that you sometimes feel for explaining, for calling people out, for, you know, speaking up for things that matter. So I get into a lot of trouble about like being vocal. Like I have so many.
What do you mean get in trouble, and by who?
And by like, don't like me because I am vocal and political, and I don't put up with shit like that, and I will call people out. And I've definitely had my moments where I've called people out in the wrong way. Like I went about it, which was like in a way that wasn't like mature or smart. I will admit that, but like,
what is
just with that? But like,
what is
just
excuse
the general,
me, real quick. What is the mature way, or like the right way to tell somebody that like people of color are oppressed? Like I don't know what, like how do I say this in a nice way that like when I don't, never mind. Okay, yeah, okay. Anyway.
When I say like problematic, not problematic, but I just like speak my mind and say like Trump supporters locked them up 2020, and then people are like, oh my god, like that's very like not equal of you. I don't even know what they say, but fuck it.
No.
I don't care anymore.
No.
When they started protesting,
I mean, that's a prime example right there, though. It's like these same people, if you don't understand it at all, I think this is a perfect example. These same people can go to their what is it, the state house or whatever the fuck they are on the steps, and hold these rifles and like assault rifles, and like be like, this is my constitutional right and nothing is done, but let a black man steal a piece of, like right, no, excuse me, let me not even say that, not steal, not do anything, they're selling DVDs, or let a black man, a black boy,
let a black man
why can't I, period, let a black boy walk around with some Skittles and a tea, and we get gunned down. Like, I'm a little confused as to how you don't see the difference. I don't see how you can see how things are like, the inequality is still here. It's still alive and kicking in 2020.
So having to explain that to anybody is such a turnoff for me. If I have to explain that to you, bye. Sorry. Not sorry. At the end of the day, people want to say that like you can't be friends with people, or like I'll say like I'm not going to pursue a relationship or friendship with you if you're a Trump supporter, and I'll get shit for that and be like, well, that's not fair, because that you could be a really good person and have support Trump. Sure, maybe you're nice, you know, and you whatever, you help animals. I don't know. I don't care, because at the end of the day, you're valuing and voting and supporting a man who is oppressive to a large group of people. And that doesn't fly with me. That says a lot about your values and what you prioritize. And for people who are like, oh, I support Trump because of his financial stance. Fuck that.
Is saying the N-word in a song racist? I wouldn't necessarily say that
we have different takes on this, Tommy.
Yeah, I'm like, I wouldn't say necessarily that it's racist, but like, just like, perfect example, just like when I'm in the car with my mom.
J. Cole said, you serious, Ruth?
Look, I'm grown as hell, And still, when I'm in the car with my mom, I'm very selective about what I listen to. Mm-hmm. And I know that like certain songs aren't edited. So I'm like, which one of these songs doesn't have so many cuss words in it? And like when they do, or if I'm singing a song, I make sure to edit myself. Anybody does that around their mom and dad. I mean, maybe that's a Black thing. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But like, I could say that like, just as easy as it is for me to edit myself when I'm around superiors or people that I respect, is just as easy as it should be for a white person to edit saying the N-word in a song. Yeah. I don't think that it's that difficult to ask you to not just don't say the N-word. I don't understand why we're having an argument about you using nigga. Like, you as a white person, why are we arguing about that? If I tell you that I don't want you saying it, then don't fucking say it. Like, that's just that, period. Yeah. That's my respect on that. However, Latino, if you're like Latinx, then I'm like, that's where I kind of like, you know, I am a lot more lenient.
How that could be vague there. I don't really fuck with it, personally. I don't really like the word at all.
Fair enough.
I'll write it out, but when I say it, it feels weird.
Yeah.
It feels real weird. If I say it, I just look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, that was wrong. that felt so out of place.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get in trouble in the sense where people will be like, oh, I know a lot of like people I've been in a relationship with, like their friends will be like, oh, why is she so political all the time? Why does she always have to bring up race? Why does she always have to blah, blah, blah? Like, she's always looking for a fight, like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I'm not. I do have to get better at picking my fights, but like, if you're gonna say nigga, I don't even like to say it because I look like the way I look. I'm like white. So
girl,
like,
you can say like, nigga all you want around me because I say it all the time.
If I hear it, I'm gonna tell you not to say it, and I don't give a shit what you think of me for calling you out. Right. I don't care how close we're friends with you. I'll post things, I'll say things, I'll start conversations. I'll say like, oh, we shouldn't support this person because the blah blah, and it's just like perceived as like, oh, she's just so like she always has a stick up her ass type of thing, and it's like that's annoying to deal with as well, to not have like either a friend group or a partner whose circle doesn't respect who you are, and that's
because that in and of itself is like, this person's also your friends are clearly not even going to check you. Let's just say race and all that other stuff aside, that person's not even going to check you check them when they're doing wrong. Like, your friends aren't going to check you because clearly they think everything you do is right. And if they're going to put up with this bullshit, then anything that man does or says, like whoever you're dating, if their friends aren't going to be like, yo, that's not cool, then what is this going to be? Because that's who your partner is always going to report to. I go back to my friends all the time about stuff, and they'd be like, either they'll say like, you need to calm down, you're tripping, or they'll be like, yeah, no, you know, that's right. So that's what a friend.
But yeah, so I think that when the person you're with has only dated white women, or that's like their type, type thing, is a little unsettling for me, and it makes me like really insecure just because I don't look like those girls. I'm never going to. And if that's your ideal like type, like, I'm never gonna look like that.
Yeah.
And then I think it might. I don't know if it's like if it's the same for you like as a boy, but for like me as a girl, I'm just always tripping about that in some way. And
I felt more fetishized. I mean, I felt a definite like fetishization of like, oh, you're black. And I'm like, is that why you're dating me, or that's why you're talking to me? Is because I'm black? Like, that's what you're into? Okay. You know, like, I don't know. So in that regard, I felt it in that way.
Yeah. And also, if you're dating a white person, and they're not an ally, then I have a problem. Because you can be like not a racist person and just like, you know, live your life like complacently, and that's you. And I'm not saying everybody has to be like a fucking social justice warrior. I don't expect that. But I do expect like support when I speak up. Yeah. I've been in so many situations where I will speak up on something, And I'm never not going to. Like, that's not who I am. Like, I've had people tell me, like, chill, like, can you just, like, not today, please? And it's like, no, justice can't wait, you
No.
know? So I'm not gonna not do that. So if the person I'm dating or a friend I have isn't gonna back me up in that, I'm not saying they have to go, like, you know, rally every day, but, like, just to have that support, that conversation, being able to have a conversation with those people and to have them support you and, you know, hype you up when you do speak up, or, like, say, like, hey, I value the fact that you are being vocal about this,
Right.
or just feeling appreciated, instead of, like, seen as, like, an annoyance, instead of being like, oh, here my girl go again, like, she's gonna go on another rant. Like,
Right.
I don't need that energy, and it makes me feel like shit for being who I am and caring about people who also are like me and having the same experience.
Yeah.
So if you're not gonna be my hype man
Then
when it
you
comes to social issues and not, you know what I mean, not in politics, but, like, when I'm talking about people of color and those issues, if you're not gonna be a white man that's gonna help or speak up, call your friends out on their bullshit, then it's not gonna work.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
real. That's real. 100%.
I want I want the support Carol Baskin's husband gives her.
I can't even read the comments. Okay, is that what? That's true though. That man was for her all the way.
I don't know if I got to that part yet. I haven't finished it.
Really?
No.
But
I did change my Twitter name to Ho Exotic, so I mean, I walked him out.
I'm a weak. Ruben said, "Do you face racism within your inner circle?"
I don't have a big circle right now. So there's the answer, because I did have some sort of issue with racial things that went down in a friend group that I was in, and so we're no longer friends. I think that the main thing that I've seen a pattern of is exactly what I just said. Just having, like, complacent friends or friends that don't understand why I speak up, and that making them uncomfortable. I think I make a lot of people uncomfortable, especially people who are not that aware of issues. People who don't really know what's going on kind of are freaked out by me, because they're like, oh my God. Sometimes I've been told, like, I make them feel, like, you know, guilty or whatever, and that's not, like, my goal, especially for my friends. Like, I hope I don't come off that way. I never try to. But I think I've had not.
And if they feel guilty, then there's a reason. I mean, there's something to be said about that. Like, for them personally, like, maybe that's something they should think about. Is, why do I feel guilty? What is that?
I also go to, like, a really white school. For whoever's asking, Ruben. I go to a really white school, and so there's not a lot of diversity there. I do get the, like, fetishization thing of being like, oh my God, like, my black friend, or, like, my Latina friend, like, whatever they want to, like, they'll choose, you know, people will pick and choose which ethnicity of mine that they think that they're going to hype me up on. Like, oh, it's so great having a Latina friend, but then one day they'll be like, oh, my black friend, and it's like, pick one, okay? Or just don't mention it. The whole, like, oh, our friend group is so diverse now, like, type of thing, and it's like,
like, are we trying to check the box right now, or what?
Yeah. It depends. But I do have really great friends as well. I have some really awesome white friends who are really supportive.
Yeah, of course.
Hype me up and speak up into, and that's my type of person in general. Yeah. So I think that it comes down to me choosing. I need to choose better, I think, what it comes down to.
We all should. We all do.
I think I've come to a point where I'm old enough and mature enough, and I know that I'm not going to change when it comes to, like, speaking up for things, that I'm not going to have complacent friends anymore. Yeah. And I used to be okay with that, because I'm like, they're not a problem per se, because they're not saying anything problematic or doing anything problematic. They're just kind of, like, existing and, like, whatever. Yeah. But complacency does, you know, feed into the issue in itself, and then, you know, that whole spiel.
You hot, Jay? It's hot than a bitch in this house.
You don't have air conditioner in your place?
No,
Damn.
at all. But I have a portable one, so I might have to roll that hoe in here.
If you haven't already,
But
Jesus.
I know. I'm saying. I feel
Jesus
like I'm.
Christ.
No, but anyway.
I'd be in this hoe naked.
You know what I'm saying? If we weren't on this live, I really would be. So.
Oh, I have to sleep naked these days. I mean, I only sleep naked, but especially now.
Period. So, okay. So, again, grouping all the stuff that we've talked about, um, how do you, and I don't even know if this person was actually in an interracial relationship, but how do you manage all of this stuff while still trying to remain in a like healthy and communicative with your partner, not lashing out on the person, and obviously not putting like suicidal threats, you know, because it was essentially a threat to their relationship. It was like, if you don't do this, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, obviously you're gonna have these feelings come up. Obviously these things are gonna manifest. But how do you navigate that space? Like, how do you not allow your toxic things to come out in that?
Yeah.
What do you suggest? Like, what do you suggest people do?
It's a great question, Tommy.
Therapy.
Therapy, definitely, yeah. But I can't say shit on that because I have not gone to therapy, and I will proudly say that I am ashamed of myself as well. But first of all, therapy's fucking expensive.
It is.
If you don't have insurance, that hoe is gonna they're gonna charge you like, you know, whatever. I don't even know because I haven't done enough research.
It's like I haven't done the research, but it's okay.
Yeah, I definitely intended to go to therapy, especially like this past semester, and then the quarantine happened, and was my lucky ticket out. That's a joke. I really need to go, but I do have a fear that I'm just gonna go in there, and then just fucking cry the whole time, and just be like, it all started with my dad, and then they'll be like, we can't help you. No one can help you. Yes, therapy. I've heard that works wonders, and I will partake in that once this all blows over.
I try to take advantage of the school's therapy. They give you like a couple sessions for free. I mean, that's coming out of my tuition somewhere.
Oh God, I'm so bad. Wait, what?
I tried to take advantage of that, and I mean, that was cool. But she was like, she told me at one point, she said, we have to stop these conversations because like you're going in a place where like if you say something, if you go any further, like I'm gonna have to like report this to somebody. And I'm like, girl, I'm just trying to vent right now. I'm not like, but I understood that. And like, once I had to go out and find my own therapist, it just became a matter of like, I felt judged by my therapist when I would say certain things. And I was just like, this isn't what therapy is supposed to be. I don't think. Like, I shouldn't feel like everything I say. She's like, well, why are you doing that? Like, you really think that, like, yeah. And I was like, okay. Like, I was just letting you know, girl, I thought that I could tell you anything. And this was just going to be that. So you're right. I mean, not only is it expensive, but it's also like you have to find the right therapist for you. So then that becomes a journey in and of itself.
Absolutely. And it's daunting. It's so daunting and overwhelming to like go and open up to a bunch of people until you find the right one that like vibes with what you're going through, I guess. But I think in a relationship, if you are somebody who struggles with like dark thoughts to the point where you self-harm or you have suicidal thoughts, I've been a part of both of those categories before. And I think that it is so important, and I've obviously made my mistakes in relationships, but to not put the blame on your significant other or whatever, and be like, this is your fault that I feel this way. This is your fault that I'm going to do this. I'm the type of person where my mental illness gets worse circumstantially. So
Mm.
if there's a bad thing that's happening, or if I'm in, a really bad argument, or something has gone down in my family or whatever, that will make my mental illness so much worse. Because I will take it and internalize it completely, and I don't
Yeah.
really have a lot of opportunities to vent. That it will just send me downward, and I'll go into a really dark space. And I know that now. Like, I know that my, like, depression especially is very circumstantial, and it's very sensitive. So I think your partner needs to have boundaries with you,
Mm-hmm.
as well. If they're not in a place to, like, be there for you, to communicate with you, because then you're going to go to them and communicate, and they're not going to be able to process that, and then you're going to feel like shit, and you're going to
Yeah.
feel mad and resentful. I also think, you have to also understand that your partner's never going to fully understand what's going on in your head, and vice versa. They have to understand they're never going to understand why you do the things that you do. In
Yeah.
terms of, like, self-harm, if your partner is self-harming, you have to understand that in their head it makes sense to them, and it's rational, and it's something that they are doing to cope.
Yes.
And so you can't make them feel like stupid for it.
Yeah.
um, you obviously don't support it, but to be there instead of critical, and just being like, okay, I'll hear you out, instead of being like, no, are you stupid,
Yeah.
And I think that I've said in relationships before, like, okay, like, when you speak to me this way, it makes my pre-existing, like, feelings and, like, trauma come
Mm-hmm.
back, and it's like a huge trigger for me. And I think that's totally that. I think that's the best way to go about it, is to communicate. When you do this, it makes my pre-existing problems worse. It's not your fault, like, you can trigger it, but to tell them that you're struggling in a way that's not like, this is all your fault,
Right.
because at the end of the day, you can't put your happiness in somebody else's
You
hands.
know, I was in a situation where my significant other told me, like, don't put he was like, don't put your daddy issues on me. Like, and I'm like, yes, I have
Yeah,
them. You know, I
yeah.
was like, I have them, but like, that's something that I've talked to you about. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I've told you, like, the way in which you speak to me reminds me of my father. And
Mm-hmm.
so I need you to cut that shit. So like, the fact that you're telling me that I need to stop putting that on you, like, there's some cases where it's like, it's also your job though, to like if I'm telling you, the like you just said, if I'm telling you that the way you speak to me or the things that you say to me are triggers
Mm-hmm.
for me, then fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just that. Just fix it.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Yeah, I think just, and also not using that against your partner. Like,
Yeah.
if you know that they have, like, certain problems, oftentimes when things get heated in the moment, people say really mean things, and can, like,
Mhm.
bring that up to hurt you, because they know it's, like, a vulnerable spot.
Yeah.
And it's just such a sensitive place, and I don't think a lot of people understand the volume of it. Um, I'm gonna refer to my notes because I'm drawing a blank.
100%.
Um, um, um.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you're not in a place to be in a relationship with somebody who's struggling, I think that should have been said very early on,
Yeah.
for both of your guys' sakes.
Yeah.
Um, hmm.
And do you real quick
Yeah,
question? Do you think that love is enough? Do you think that love is enough to maintain the relationship? Like,
no,
right? I
no,
feel right. I was thinking the same thing. I don't think it's enough.
absolutely
We can love each other really hard. I mean, it seems like this couple loved each other a lot, but like,
not.
if
Mm-hmm.
if one of us is, and too messed up, then it's like, or both, then it's really like, yeah, we love each other, but like, I can't put up, I can't put up with this anymore.
Totally.
And do
Yeah.
you, what were we gonna say? Who won?
No, I was just gonna say I completely agree that, love is, obviously a really big factor of things, but it takes a lot of work to make a relationship work,
Yeah.
And when there's all mental illness involved, it takes even more work.
Yeah.
So it has to be like effort. So you have to put in so much effort for those relationships. And you can love somebody all you want, but if you don't have, like, if your actions aren't going to back it up and you're not going to be able to put in the effort, then it's not going to work. And that's okay. Like, that's okay if you can love somebody and let them go because that's what's best for both of you.
Yeah.
I think that's right. It's so hard because for me personally, like, if I love somebody, then that's like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to stick it out because that's what I do. And that's
For
like,
sure.
my, trauma has made me the type of person who will, keep on forgiving, and I'm always going to want to try to fix things, change things, whatever. And then there's times where like love fades, and then you have all these problems, and you're like, oh God. But yeah, I think that it's definitely a mixture of love and emotion, but also actions and
Yes.
working for it.
So another question based off an example is, I know the end of my relationship came to a point where it was like I had become better. I had done the work because, I mean, it's me. Those of you who know me, I'm very extroverted. I'm very, that is me. So I take up a lot of space, even in a relationship. And it takes a special person to do that, which that my ex did very well. But it was a constant me trying to figure my shit out, and like me trying to get it together, that because I put that task on him as well, as far as like, let's heal me. By the time I was actually like, I feel pretty good, like I'm in a good place. He became like, although there was other things in the relationship that were fucked up, once I became aware and like, I was like, okay, I'm good. I was more like alert on his fuck shit. And thus it became like, now we're doing the work on you. But then I got to a point where I was like, but I don't deserve this, and it was almost like, fuck, like you sat around for X amount of years and you helped me get my stuff together, and like you had to deal with me getting my stuff together, but now that it's your turn, I'm like, I refuse to be treated like this. Like, does that, like, I mean, I'll get your opinion on it if you've dealt with that before, but like, what do you say to a person like that? Like, and it's okay, you can dog me, girl, it's fine. But like, what do you like? Is that a situation where the person should, sit around and just wait and do the work with this other person? Like, what does that look like? Do you subject yourself to that?
I think it depends on what the work is.
Okay.
Because if you're working on like your mental health and you know that you struggle with these things and you're fixing those things, and then you do, and then you have clarity and you come to this realization where you finally value yourself and you feel like you could do life on your own, like you don't feel as codependent.
Yeah.
So then you kind of like removed that veil of like feeling lucky, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I think it's completely valid to come to that moment of growth to be like, okay, this isn't good for me anymore. It's totally normal to outgrow people. That is real, and I think it's valid. But I would say if your partner's struggling with mental illness as well, I would say that would be kind of fucked up for them to like wait for you and then you not like give them that time.
Agreed.
But if they have like issues that are persistent, that are not necessarily things that are like individual, like if they have if they're just like an abusive person, then like you shouldn't feel guilty for growing out of that and finally realizing that you don't deserve to be treated that way.
Right. Because verbal abuse is definitely something that I realized I couldn't put up with anymore. Like the verbal abuse is just like, it's like I can't do that shit. I can't do that shit. I could take a lot of shit. Honestly, I could take a lot of shit. I could take cheating. I could take a lot of shit. But like, once I feel like I'm being like verbally abused on a consistent basis, it's like this isn't gonna work. Like, I understand you're going through your shit, and like, I want to be here to help, but I can't. I'm not gonna be your punching bag. I can't be that.
Definitely, definitely. I
That's
think
the
that's. I think verbal abuse is a big thing for anybody that struggles with mental illness. I think that for me personally, like words and time are my love language. So
yeah.
if I get the reverse of that,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like not cool.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to kind of wrap it up,
Yeah.
um, how have you, like, in maybe your current relationship, like, how do you feel, like, do you feel validated in a lot of ways, or in any of your, I won't even say just your current, but like in any of your relationships, have you felt like supported when it comes to your mental health, or like them taking the time out to really do the work that is needed to be in a relationship with someone who does have mental health issues?
I won't go into like my current relationship.
Right.
But I have like I wouldn't say I have a lot of people who have been the type of friend that I need. I have a few, and I realize that that's really all I need.
Yeah.
I have a couple really solid friends that I know I can trust and go to and vent to, and that they'll listen and be
Yeah.
there and respond in a way that is safe
Mm-hmm.
and not guilting or like making me feel stupid or dramatic or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so I do have those people in my circle. So, but I've definitely had my fair share of people who either are fully aware of where I'm at, what I'm going through, and like never once reach out, never once like
Right.
check in. I've had friends like that. I've had friends who have not wanted to be friends with me because of that I have depression, and like that's just like annoying, I guess.
Yeah.
So I've had my fair share of both. But I think now going through what I have like this recent year, I definitely like can see that clearer now and now know, which type of friends I do need
Yeah.
to, not feel so alone, I guess, for the
No,
sake.
that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Well, it's been good talking to you. Aside from these little
Yeah,
like
good talking to
technical
you too.
difficulties of sound,
It happens. It
you
happens.
know, I'm like, it's been good. I love talking to you. I'm like, even though I'm
Me
this
too.
old hag, no, but I feel like you
How
still
old are you? Are you allowed to
talk.
say?
I'm
Are you
27.
allowed to say how old you are?
Yeah, totally. No, I'm 27. So I'm
Oh my
like,
god, you're fine.
I'm old. No, I'm not old. I'm just getting started. I heard 30s are the best years, you know? So I'm like, let's see what they have. But even though I am a lot older than you, I feel like you still have this maturity to like just hold conversation, and you just give great advice. I still remember when we went to like what little breakfast place did we go to, and we had like breakfast. It's like in the circle,
Oh,
you know,
O'Reilly.
that place,
That
that place,
on the corner.
that place. But like
Yes.
even in our little talks that we have, because it was hard for us to really get together during the school year, like I really do appreciate just having you as a friend, and like our friendship period has always been solid.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I'm always here for you. Mental
Thank
health, whether it's
you.
you want to talk about that, or like creative stuff, or let's go turn up, or like whatever, I'm always here for you. I always got you. So
Thank
I
you.
want you to know I'll be that person in your circle that's got you, and I understand all the black stuff, so I'm here for that too. So you got
Thank
me.
you. Me too. I'm here for you as well.
Yay, thank you, love.
I'm not good with like soppy stuff. Like I feel it in my heart, but I'm not
Yeah.
good at like verbalizing it.
You're
I'll
good.
write it down for you. I'll write it down for you and send it to you. I'm better like with written word than I am
No,
like
you're good, my
speaking.
love. I know. I feel it. I know. I already know.
Somebody said you tell the Chris Brown story. No, ma'am, I did not.
The
Not
Chris.
today.
Oh wait, somebody's been waiting on that. I'm weak that they're waiting on the Chris Brown story. Are you gonna share that? Do you want to share that?
Uh,
Is any of his
okay.
entourage
I'll
in
just
this
like say
live
it
right
very
now?
quickly. I'll say it real quick
Okay.
because it's not even that cool. But sure, the people are asking.
I'm like,
basically,
I know it, so I'm a little. I'm like, now I'm like, yeah, you can share it if you want. If you don't, it is what it is.
basically, I was at a club and
Boom! Chris Brown, Chris
and
Brown,
that's
Chris
the
Brown.
punchline of the story. Yeah, quarantine. And then I was like, oh, thanks for the offer. Still gonna pass. And then I left. And that was the end of that story. And that was it. And that's the tea. And that's the only like cool celebrity-ish story I have. I don't really care.
Wait, didn't you
Oh,
also go to?
told me
Didn't
I
you
was
go to
hot
high school
once.
with Frank Ocean's little brother though?
I did.
That's a cool one. That one's even
Yeah,
better than the Chris Brown one.
we had a funny relationship. Yeah,
Even though, can I be honest with you? If it was me in that situation with the Chris Brown situation, I might have stayed. But that's why you're better than me.
you said what? You would have stayed? Oh, yeah.
I'm like, but that's why you're better than me. But
Yeah, no, I
anyway,
was scared. I was so scared.
I know.
The
That's
fear,
true.
it kicked in. It kicked in. I think like after I wasn't drinking for a while, I was like, you know, safety, all the instincts that you're given was like,
Yeah,
got a blast.
no,
Get out.
and I think it's male, female. You know, like as a male, I
Yeah.
think I'd feel a little more secure in the situation. Whereas, like,
Oh yeah.
a lot of bad things. I mean, they could happen either way, but like a lot of bad things could have happened to you as a female.
Yeah. You know what's so bad too is that like God, this is gonna sound so fucked up to say, but I love Chris Brown's music, and I
100%.
feel terrible about it because he's a
100%.
shitty person and beats women and has so many rape allegations, and I don't do that. And so I have like a little bit of the hypocrite of me is jumping out because
It's okay.
I'm like, yes, Chris Brown, love you. I don't like you as a person, but I love your music. But then R. Kelly will come around the joint. I'll be like, turn that shit off.
Turn it off. So yeah, I can leave.
Turn it off.
As long as they don't have a, what was it,
Like,
surviving?
yeah.
As long as they don't have a surviving Chris Brown, I'm good. Once I see it,
Biden's on my ballot, and I'm like, fuck off. But Chris Brown's on my radio, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just don't want a documentary. If they put a documentary out and they put it in my
You gotta
face,
cancel. I mean, he is canceled. He's so canceled. But when I listen to his music, I just pretend it's Usher, and it's all good. Oh God, I'm gonna. One day this video's gonna resurface, and they're like, "Wow, Summir Wilson supports a woman beater." Oh God,
You know, I'll have to delete this when that time comes. I'll just be like, we're just gonna let it go. You know, hopefully nobody's screaming.
I'll explain myself, and I'll do an apology.
You know,
I'm acknowledging that it's wrong, so that's a
100%. 100%. That's all we can do at this moment. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just glad my man Usher is.
Oh, Usher's
scratch free.
Usher was the first CD I ever got. Like that was the first CD my parents ever bought me.
Really?
8701. Am I dated?
Wow.
Yes, I am. 8701, baby, when it first came out.
That's a sexy one.
Say what?
That's a sexy one.
It was. That was the one that just got me. From there, I was like,
he just came out with a new song, and I think that he should just like call it quits.
Oh, he came out with what song?
Yeah, it's called Sex Beat.
Oh, I like that song. See there, my son.
I don't know. He went through a phase where I was like, this isn't it. Like, the
Wait,
love in this club. And I'm like, no, wait, that wasn't even that bad. There was one that I was like, no.
Let me tell you, I like Sex Beat only because they redid this from, what's the song? It was Lil Jon, Usher, and Ludacris. What song did they have?
Yeah?
They did a song back in the day. Was it Pillow Fight? Let me know what's up with it. Want to let a real thug hit it. You know that song? Who is that? No, that's not the same. Is it? No, I don't know, girl. I don't know, but I will admit that I like that. I like Sex Beat. So now you just played me, Summir.
I'll have to go. I honestly haven't listened to it all the way through.
It's probably not that good, if I'm being honest, but I just fuck with the beat. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Lovers and Friends. There it is. Tell me again. Yes. So
you know what's one R. Kelly song I will still listen to?
What?
Is The Same Girl, because it's Usher.
That's true.
And it's an iconic song. I just have to just pause it for the R. Kelly portion, just skip it.
When the video first came out, I remember I was just like,
iconic.
It was everything. Chocolate
They
Factory.
were twins.
We just gotta let it all go.
That's
We
crazy.
gotta let it all go. Except
Crazy.
for that one. Except for
that one.
I'll give you that. Same girl. I'll give you it. Well, thank you, Summir. I love you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Of course. I appreciate it. It was fun. We'll have to do this again.
Yes, definitely. Make your podcast. I would love to.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe Summir is a regular. Maybe Summir is a part of the podcast.
I'd literally love nothing more.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about it.
All right, my love. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.